Welcome and listening to a radio station where the mighty hosts of heaven sing. Turn your radio on.
Turn your radio.
Turn your radio on.
Turn your radio on.
Hey YouTube, this is Virginia, back again with another installment of The Resolution. This episode I'm going to talk about general information on incubating eggs, what I've learned, and just some general information on different hatcheries and what I know about them and whatnot, and a little bit of information on probably the best chicken information website you will ever find. I'm going to try to include some screenshots of just the home pages of the different hatchery websites. Other than that, there's not going to be much more going on as far as pictures go. It's mostly, this is mostly going to be a talking video. But since I'm still learning how to make these videos and everything, my screenshots aren't exactly the prettiest. But they will give an idea on what it is you're going to be looking for whenever if you ever decide to order chicks. I may or may not include the links to all the different websites that I give you information on, but if you are interested in knowing what the websites, the links to the websites or whatever, if you want any of the links to the websites, just let me know, and I'll either go ahead and include them in the sidebar, or I'll go ahead and put them in the comment section. But pretty much any of the websites that I tell you about, they're going to be basically just the name of the hatchery.com. So anyway, alright, so let's go ahead and get started with some general information on incubating eggs. In order to have fertile eggs, you need to have one rooster to every 10 hens at the most. If you want your eggs to be fertile. Any more than that, and you run into a chance of your eggs not being fertile. So you got to have no more than 10 hens per rooster. So that part being said, the incubation period for chicken eggs is 20 to 21 days. You generally go on what's called lockdown on day 18. The first 18 days, unless you have an automatic turner, you have to turn the eggs at least 3 times a day. So 3 times a day you turn your eggs, because if you don't turn them, then you run into the chick or the yolk getting stuck to the egg. And if that happens, then the chick can't absorb its yolk before it hatches, and that's just basically they'll die, and they won't be able to hatch, and they'll just die in the shell. So anyway, you keep your temperatures between 99 and no higher than 101. That's Fahrenheit. If you go any higher than that, you run into a problem of cooking your chicks. If you run it lower than that, then they will develop too slow, and that'll cause a lot of problems. Typically they won't make it. In fact, I actually had a problem with my incubator, and I lost several chicks because when it got time for them to hatch, they were too underdeveloped and they died. So you want to watch out for that. You have to keep humidity up, because when a hen sits on her eggs, when she becomes broody and sits on her eggs, what she'll do is she'll pull a lot of the feathers out of her breast area and line her nest with that, and so her skin will be sitting on the eggs, and so the moisture coming from her keeps the humidity up in the eggs. Because if you don't keep the humidity up, then the eggs will dry out and kill your chick. So usually, all you do with that is you keep a little tub of water in your incubator. You don't want during the incubation process, you don't want it too high, because if it's too high, then water will collect in the air cell, and the air cell is just a little pocket of air that's in the big end of the egg, and if the humidity is too high, they'll collect condensation inside that air cell. Well, that air cell, what happens when the chick goes to hatch is they first pop through that through the membrane into the air cell, and that's what gives them their first breath. If there's condensation in there, they can drown. Um, so you want to keep during the incubation process, you want to keep your humidity upper 30s, 40s, maybe 50. Um, so that usually can be just controlled by a little thing of water. Um, when they go to hatch, when they on day 18, you go on lockdown, and you stop turning your eggs, and you bump up the humidity. And most people, the way they bump up humidity is they either put paper towels or sponges, stuff like that, in the water dish to create more surface area for the water to evaporate, which in turn makes the humidity come up. And you want your humidity up for hatching because when they pip, which is pipping is when they've gotten through the membrane into the air cell, and then they poke that first hole in the egg. So when they pip, they take a long rest because it takes a lot of energy out of them, and it can take up to 24 hours. If it's after 24 hours and they still haven't hatched after pipping, then that's when you run into possibly needing to help them. But after they pip and they take that rest, if your humidity isn't up, then the skin that's around the shell, which is the same skin that you see whenever you boil an egg, and that very thin skin that's stuck around the shell, that's the skin that I'm talking about. That and the membrane can harden, and if it gets hard, most people call it shrink wrapped. If they become shrink wrapped and it's dried out, then they can't hatch and they'll die. So you want to keep your humidity up. And part of the reason also that they call it lockdown is they say when they're on lockdown, you don't open the incubator for anything. Because anytime you open the incubator, you lose your heat. Losing heat for a little while isn't as important as losing your humidity, and the humidity will drop fast. So, and it can take a long time for it to come back up. Most people, if they have a chick that's having a problem and they have to help the chick or whatever, if they have to open the incubator while it's on lockdown, then they'll keep like a spray bottle nearby and they'll spray water inside. And that'll help keep the humidity up. But you really want to try to avoid doing that. After the chick pips, uh, they'll take a long rest, and after their rest, they will work on what's called zipping, which means they will take and they will almost go completely around the circumference of the egg, around the big end, not long ways, but short ways around the egg, and they'll just take their beak and they'll pop off chunks of egg, and that's zipping. Usually, when they start zipping, they're going to be hatched within 15-20 minutes, maybe less than that. And they start to zip, and then they push and push and push, and then they finally get the top popped off, and they just kind of fling out of the